This is Dan Davies from AbleLink Smart Living Technologies with another 4-minute tutorial. Today we're going to look at the system settings in Smart Living Desktop. So let's get started. System settings are settings that apply equally to all users of the desktop. They're not individual settings that you change to make one user's desktop behave differently or look differently. These apply to everyone equally. So let's take a look at a few of them. When you first start the Smart Living Desktop, this button in the top left, the Edit User button, is displayed, and it's there to make it real easy to go into the User Manager section of the program. I'll click it now, and this is where you add and edit users and delete users for the system. After you've added all the number of users that you intend to have on a desktop, you can take that button off the screen so that it's not there for individuals to click on and go and make changes to desktops unintentionally. The way you remove it is you go into Setup. So down here in the bottom left, I can type the word Setup, S-E-T-U-P, into that text box, and that takes me into the Cognitive Access Settings part of the program. Underneath this button, the AddEdit button, is a checkbox, and now I'm going to uncheck it, and when we go back to the desktop, you see that button is gone. Now, even when the button's gone, you can still add users and edit their desktops. The way you do that is you type the word Add into the text box, and it brings up the User Manager display. Alternatively, you can type the word Edit, E-D-I-T, and that gets you to the same place. So even without the button on the screen, you can still perform those functions. I'm going to go back into Setup. This time I'm going to double click in the text box. That's a quick way to get into Setup without having to type the word into the text box itself. Let's look at a couple other options here. This next one is the Quit button. The Quit button displays or hides this button up in the top right, which exits the Smart Living Desktop and gets back to the Windows environment. Sometimes, depending upon the use setting, you want to take that button off the screen so that users of the system stay within the Smart Living Desktop environment. So that's simply done by unchecking the box from Setup and going back to the desktop, and you'll notice there's no exit button or quit button there now. Let's go back into Setup. Oftentimes, in combination with turning off the exit button, you may also want to hide the Windows Taskbar. You see on the bottom of the screen here is the Windows Taskbar, which is another way to exit this program and get to other programs. So you can check this box, and it actually hides the Windows Taskbar across the bottom of the screen. That works that way also on individual user desktops when you have that option set. So their desktop fills the entire screen and they don't have the Windows taskbar across the bottom. All right, let's go back in. There's another option that allows you to change the size of the login buttons. By default, the size of the buttons are what you see here. Depending upon how many users you have using the system, you might want to make those buttons smaller so you can display more of them on the screen at one time. So we'll go back into Setup and check the box that says Use Smaller Login Buttons. Now this time, this feature applies the next time you start the Smart Living Desktop. So initially, that feature is not there, but once I restart, you'll see that. By the way, when the Quit button is not displayed, you can type the word Exit, please, those words, into the text box, and that exits the program. Let's relaunch, and you will see that we now have smaller login buttons displayed. All right, let's go look at one last feature here for now, and this is Allow Double-Click to Enter Setup. By unchecking that box, the double click no longer works to take you into Setup. You have to type the word Setup to get in there. For further information about contacting AbleLink or any of these programs, you can contact us with the information on the screen here, and I look forward to hearing from you. Talk to you next time.